The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Vita Vea finally ended their contract standoff on Wednesday, but then the Buccaneers just immediately found themselves in the center of some drama that absolutely nobody saw coming. I'm Evan Winter with A to Z Sports. Let's go ahead and dive right on in. So yeah, we'll get to Vita Vea here in a minute because that's, kind of a pretty much just on the face type conversation. So let's just go ahead and dive right into what I was talking about in the beginning. And that's the fact that a Colorado judge recently ruled that players that entered college in 2022, the 2022 recruiting class, if that's what you want to call it, they are now granted a fifth year of eligibility if they exhausted all 4 seasons in school. Now, the reason why this is happening is because, according to the judge, the 2022 class was caught up between COVID eligibility things, the super seniors, the 7-year seniors that we were seeing there for a little while that are going to get or that are no longer existing because things are back to normal. And then the NCAA's new 5-for-5 rule, where instead of having 4 years to play out and then a grad transfer year, if you wanted to do that, players are now allowed to play 5 full seasons if they desire. So now all that's still going to get sorted out. It's going to get appealed. There's still a lot to go. But either way, the point of the matter and how this all relates to the Buccaneers is rookie edge Jack Pyburn, the kid who just had 2 sacks against the Jets in the first preseason game, is thinking about going through with this. Now, there's a lot to dive into when it comes to Jack Pyburn and why he would make this decision to possibly go back to school. Number one, he's only making $115,000 this year on his contract. That's fully guaranteed. Now, he did sign a 3-year, $3.115 million deal, so $3,115,000. But like I said, only $115,000 of that is guaranteed. Now, could Jack Pyburn go back to school and get an NIL deal worth more than $115,000? Probably so. But when you look at what he can make over the course of the entire season, especially if he makes a team, and we'll get to that part here in a minute, it raises more questions. So if Jack Pyburn were to make the team, then obviously that salary is good to go, right? Or at least for the 2026 season. And if he gets cut or whatever, now there's other different ways, mechanisms that fall into all that. But let's just say things go swimmingly and he sticks with the Bucs for all 18 games. Well, that means he's going to make his $885,000 base salary plus that $115,000 he's already been guaranteed for about $1 million. That's about how much he'll make this year. Can he get an NIL deal like that? I'm not entirely sure. To all due respect to Jack Pyburn, he wasn't really a big name in college. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't know who he was when the Buccaneers signed him with their UDFA class, back in April. So all that to say, if Pyburn were to get cut and get on the Buccaneers practice squad, then he would only make about $247,000, $248,000, somewhere in that ballpark over the course of 18 games, plus the $115,000 that was guaranteed on his deal. So that brings it up to about $362,000, $363,000 for the year. So you can see why there are different escalators here between what Pyburn could make potentially with the Buccaneers and whatever he could make on a potential NIL deal in college, going back to school. He's also potentially allowed to transfer in this whole thing. So if somebody liked what they saw against the Jets, let's say a top school like Ohio State, he could transfer there if all that were to work out. So now, a big reason, though, why I think Jack Pyburn is looking into this is because, and fortunately, we had the opportunity to hear him speak after Monday's practice, but he put it out all on the line when he was talking about, quote unquote, some regrets that he had from his college days. And he strictly said, I didn't work hard enough. He said, sure, I did all the extra things that, you're supposed to do, but I didn't dedicate my life to the sport. And he feels like that held him back in terms of his overall draft status and things of that nature. And so I get that 100%. I don't blame the kid for going back and looking into this. As long as he can return that money to the Buccaneers, that's where things get kind of iffy. Like, he should return that money to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers should be refunded. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Still, though, when you look at the situation surrounding Jack Pyburn right now in the Buccaneers edge room, he's like edge 7th at best right now. I would still say Chris Braswell has a slight edge over him right now just because the Buccaneers are familiar with him. He's proven he can be a special teamer, all that jazz. So, with that being said, odds are Pyburn is going to get cut, and then now he faces uncertainty throughout the rest of the year. If he goes back to school, and forget about the NIL stuff for a minute, but let's say he has a really good year and he does turn into the player he wants to be now that he has this new perspective on just how he has arrived to the point he's at today, then he might get drafted next year. And then now all of a sudden he has a much better status in terms of where he's at on the roster. Coaches are going to be more invested in him, for lack of better words. It's just going to be an overall better scenario for Jack Pyburn. So there's a lot to go in that goes into all this. But overall, I would say I don't think Jack Pyburn is going to go back to school because, as I said in the beginning, this is going to get appealed. This is just like day one of this ruling. And there's going to be so much legal stuff going through, maneuvering, all that other jazz to where, I mean, the season starts in what, 3 weeks? Do we really think that all of this is going to get cleared up and figured out in 3 weeks? I'm willing to bet no. And the more Jack Pyburn plays, and let's say he continues to play well, it might persuade him to stay in Tampa Bay or just in the NFL at the end of the day. So like I said, I wanted to talk about Vita Vea for just a couple minutes. But before we do that, hit the like and subscribe button for me. Let's keep this thing rolling, all right? So yeah, Vita Vea got paid, baby. All right. I mean, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what will. Because the Bucs needed Vita Vea on the field in 2026. There's no doubt about that, especially if the defense wants to perform at the level that is expected of it. And you got to like what the Buccaneers came up with overall at the end of the day. Vita Vea is going to make $24 million per year over the next 2 years, all fully guaranteed. He got a $30 million bump in total with new money. And it was exactly for the 2026 season, it was exactly what we've talked about on the show was the best case scenario for both sides. And that was to give him a raise for this year and then kind of see, what things look like after that. And that's exactly what the Buccaneers did. And sure, a lot of people were right on the nose when they saw one of the Glazers at practice on Monday. Many people thought like, hey, this could be the makings of a potential Vita Vea resolution. And then Adam Schefter came out on Wednesday saying that he thinks things have now flipped and that Vita Vea is going to stay in Tampa Bay with a new deal. And then, boom, here we are today. Vita Vea, good to go. And again, you've got to love this because what he's going to be able to do up front with A'Shawn Robinson and hopefully a healthy Kalijah Kancey, big things, baby. We're talking about big things because the skill set of those three guys play off each other so well. They can do so many different things at a high level that it's just going to open up possibilities for the outside pass rushers, for the inside linebackers, and then for the occasional DB that Todd Bowles is going to send blitzing. So absolutely love it. It's a good deal. Works out best for both sides. And it's honestly kind of a bargain to an extent, especially if Vita Vea plays at a high level, because again, you got him for $24 million each year. And even though he got the $30 million deal that he wanted, he's still like right on that fringe top 10 in terms of pay, in terms of interior defensive linemen. So, Buccaneers didn't have to really break the bank. They didn't have to sign him to a 2-year contract or something like that. That was like $60 million a year or whatever number that makes sense in all this. So overall, I think it's a win for both sides and just happy to see the big man getting paid and now get his butt on the field, get him in shape, and get him ready for week 1. We got about 2.5 weeks to do that. I think the Buccaneers can do just as much. So what do y'all think about the whole Jack Pyburn situation? Pretty intriguing. There's a lot of angles to cover, a lot of ground to walk on when it comes to that conversation. And then let me know how you feel about Vita Vea and his payday. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what the overall reaction is going to be, but I want to hear it from y'all anyway. And until next time, keep your eyes on A to Z Sports Bucs, and we'll see you around.